Chest up, shoulders back. Welcome to Revival Fitness, everybody, your home for gains and brains. And we are back at it once again, guys. Cultivating Mass Season 2 and a half.
What you gonna do when Bulkamania runs wild on you, brother?
So I was doing my original bulking diet starting in September of 2022. Did it up until about February 2022. Encountered the skin problem, had to make some adjustments, went on the elimination diet. Have essentially resolved all of the skin problems, or largely have. So before we jump into the foods themselves, guys, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of my goals for this current phase. You can see some video of me running through some poses on the screen here. This was taken flat, no food, fresh out of bed, no pump, anything like that, no lighting edits. This is just me in my kitchen in the morning. The main goals I have going forward in this phase. The first one is the 315-pound bench press. By the grace of God, I will get there. Don't know how long it's going to take, but I really want to cross that off my list. Once I finally hit that goal, guys, I may never bench press again. It's sort of similar to the 405 back squat that I hit. I think it was early 2022 whenever I did that. That was a goal, a milestone I've had for a while. I did it, and truthfully, I have not really back squatted since. I think once or twice. You may be asking why. I just don't enjoy the exercise. I stand by the fact that beginners need to learn and master these foundational movement patterns, but for me, I don't think I could ever really compete in powerlifting. Some people ask about that. I despise back squats. They are, without question, probably top 3 least favorite exercises of mine. I don't despise the bench press, besides the fact that it's been my kryptonite for my entire lifting career. I don't dislike it per se, but it's at a point now where I've done it for so long and just had to struggle and crawl through the mud with it. I could stop doing it for a long time and not really care. And this doesn't mean that I'm never going to do variations of these exercises. I am more than happy to do safety squat bar squats, or do some type of Swiss bar bench press. But just the straight bar versions of these exercises, at least for me, and my own body and how it reacts, I'm just sort of over them. And then when it comes to the deadlift, I would like to get to a mid-500s deadlift, maybe 550 or so. Once again, this is a back burner goal for me. I'd like to get up to like a 405 SSB squat as well, which is essentially the equivalent of a 5-plate barbell back squat. And in terms of body composition with this phase, my main goal is to reach 200 plus pounds for the first time in my life. The heaviest I've ever weighed was, I think it was at the end of the 10K eating challenge I did. After the last bulk was concluding, I weighed 191 pounds, I believe, after eating pounds and pounds of food. So we're reaching for new horizons here. I don't want to only reach 200 pounds, I want to reach 200 plus pounds with visible abs. And when it comes to the bulk, guys, this is something I've been thinking about. This might be my last serious bulk I ever do, which I'll probably go back on that, but just thinking about it, the amount of time I'm spending during the day stuffing food in my mouth, I know a lot of you fellow naturally skinny, lanky guys can relate to this, the hard gainers, the dudes who just don't have these massive appetites that so many people in fitness seem to do. They can just shovel down 7,000 calories a day and they're like, oh, well, it's easy for me to do that. I cannot relate to that at all. I've talked about before, guys, whenever I was a kid, I thought I had a big appetite because I like to have some dessert after my dinner. But once you get into the fitness space and actually eat this amount of food over and over and over, you're going to get hit with reality. I'm not a guy who could eat an entire pizza every single day. I'm not a guy that could go through an entire pint of ice cream every single night before bed. And the foods I'm eating now are going to be cleaner than my previous long-term bulk, which is going to make it even harder to put all the food down, but that is going to result in more improvement in the body composition. But the amount of time you're going to spend just cooking, meal prepping, eating, lugging food around with you everywhere you go. So I understand why people in this space lose their minds, because this is pretty ridiculous. So now we're going to jump into the diet itself. And I'm sure some of you guys are having aneurysms in the comments below, like 5,000 calories. There is no need to eat that many calories per day. You're going to get fat and all this stuff. I've talked about before in the recent video, guys, about bulking mistakes. You cannot guarantee that you will gain a set amount of weight based on your estimated surplus, because first of all, you can't even totally gauge the accuracy of said surplus, or your own maintenance level, or how much you expend a day. These are all just ballpark figures, but I can speak for myself. I have to eat a ton of food for the scale to readily go up. I was at the point, guys, at the end of the last bulk, I was stuffing my face, as you saw, and my weight was barely crawling above 190. It was basically flatlining around 190 at the end there. So, do I need to eat as much food as I am doing here? Probably not. But this is basically my insurance policy. I want to get this done, get this out of the way, reach these goals. Like I always say, it's about time effectiveness. I don't want this to take 3 more years. I'd rather it take 10 to 12 more months. And while I was putting this diet together and really thinking about a lot of my eating changes I've made over the past year or so, I realized that my eating resembles in a lot of ways that of Arnold Schwarzenegger's own bulking diet. What you see on the screen here is taken from his Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding, and there are a lot of similarities. A lot of eggs are being eaten, a lot of milk is being drank, a lot of red meat as well as some other general just carb sources around workout time. And we're going to start with the most important meal of the day, breakfast. My staple, 6 eggs. Not only that, we're going to add in 4 ounces of steak. And before we do that, we're going to put in the pan 4 tablespoons of this raw butter here. So this is a pretty nutrient-dense breakfast. In total, it's going to be over 1,000 estimated calories. So while the steak and eggs cook, I am going to use this handy-dandy rice cooker. If you guys make rice a lot and don't have one of these, get one. I'm going to make 1 cup of rice. So this is white rice here. We're going to use this later on in the day, so stay tuned for that. But it's nice and convenient to knock it out right here, as opposed to having to make it later. And after breakfast, I pretty much immediately go into the second meal of the day, the pre-workout meal, Prot meal, or as I have rebranded it, Pump Pudding. Now, as you guys are going to see throughout this video, you do not need to be eating as much protein as I am. I don't really think there's a tangible benefit of eating well beyond 1 gram per pound of body weight, but I am doing so partially because 1, oatmeal by itself tastes like cardboard, and throwing in some chocolate protein powder makes it taste way better. And secondly, I gotta give you guys my 20% off code for this grass-fed Levels protein. All kinds of flavors available on their website, levelsprotein.com. Use code MKA20 for 20% off of your first order. Mixes very well and it's very tasty. No fake ingredients or sweeteners either. But this is going to be the meal I have right before the gym. So once I've got too distracted and spent too much time in the gym, it is now time for the post-workout meal. And this is where we're going to have the rice. And we return back to the nutrient timing here. So I am going to get a massive carb load right after the workout, when the muscles are most sensitive for glycogen replenishment. And some of you might be asking here, why is this white rice not brown rice? Brown rice has more fiber in it. That's exactly why this is white rice. I want this to be as fast digesting as possible. Notice as well, there are no other real macronutrients here. There's not really any protein, there is no fat. This is a straight carb shot right after the workout to accomplish the insulin spike that I'm looking for. So following the rice, I will get home, take a shower, prep up a little bit, and then it is time for the return of the raw milk.
It's raw!
I said before, guys, I can't gauge entirely what caused my skin problem previously. I would assume the dairy had a good amount to do with it based on the total amount I was consuming, but what I have done to alleviate that problem, as far as I can tell, is take this supplement right here. This is a dairy digestion enzyme. Some of these enzymes you're going to find are going to only have lactase in them. This one has 3 different things that allows for more full digestion of dairy, because some people do have problems with the protein and the fat found in dairy as well. That is more rare than the milk sugar, but this one's more comprehensive. Anyway though, I take these enzymes now right before I have milk, and this problem seems to be alleviated. So each day I go for a half gallon of this milk, and I have it with Rice Krispies. When it comes to cereal, guys, I know cereal can be very tasty. If you're bulking and struggle to put on weight, it can be something that you might lean on. I've done that in the past myself. But when it comes to the purity of the ingredients, especially with just mainstream cereals in these colorful boxes from the big companies, this is as clean as I have found. There are 4 total ingredients, I guess you could even say 3, if you count the sugar and the malt flavor as the same thing. Compare this to most cereals you're going to find. They have 15 to 25 ingredients in them. All kinds of stuff added, a bunch of artificial colors, preservatives, seed oil, but I have about 3 big bowls of the Rice Krispies here, and in total with the milk, this comes out to almost 2,000 total calories, so this is a pretty big portion of my day right here. Then later on into the night, I will have this burger patty. Just a nice little thing that I get from the farm I order food from. It's about 6 ounces. I just throw it on to the stovetop or onto a grill if I'm somewhere where there is a grill. And I will have this usually with some type of cheese. And I will snack on this while I do some work into the evening. And I will usually add some type of vegetable to this. Primarily broccoli is the one I've been going with. And as I sit here in a mountain of dishes questioning my life choices up to this point, there is one more meal of the day, and that is a ½ pound of ground beef. Once again, I will throw in some cheese with this as well, and perhaps a vegetable. And by this point, guys, I am usually struggling pretty heavily to finish this food. I sometimes don't finish it, I'll just leave it and keep some leftovers for the next day. In the ideal scenario, I would consume all of this, guys, but in a lot of days, especially if I'm busy, consuming all this food takes a lot of time. There's no other way to say it. I mean, you see a lot of these pro bodybuilding videos whenever they do their full day of eating. All these guys do is train and eat and then sleep. And maybe they'll go to a restaurant to eat again. I mean, that's all you can really do at a certain point. So, once again, do not just imitate this because I'm doing it, guys. I have a far different circumstance than most of you. I've been lifting for a number of years now. My metabolism is extremely high. If I don't willingly force feed myself, my weight will start to drop in the next day or two. It happens very, very fast. And this is just a goal of mine. I'm documenting it here. The vast majority of you watching do not need to eat nearly as much food as I am eating here. So for you beginners especially, please do not just watch all of this stuff here and say, oh, well, he ate that much food, I'm going to eat that much food, and but all that muscle like he did. It's going to take you way longer than a number of months, man. Okay, so if you follow this exact diet to a T like I'm doing, and you balloon up like Mrs. Puff, don't get mad at me. But here are the final tallies, guys. 5,088 estimated calories, 246 grams of protein, 428 grams of carbs, and 266 grams of fat. So the macro breakdown comes down to 19% protein, 34% carbs, and 47% fat. So this is without question a higher fat diet, especially saturated fat, because I fell into the old paradigm pretty much all my life until the past year or so of avoiding saturated fat. But I can tell you guys this, my body composition now, at the weight I am hovering around, is better than it was the last time I weighed this much. Even at the end of the bulk I had to cut short recently, when I was about 190 pounds again, my body composition there was better than it was the last time I was bulking on my previous diet. So if you guys want to compare my full day of eating with 4,000 calories, that's whenever the channel was newer, you can click the video in the top corner to compare these two diets and kind of notice the changes. Less processed food, a lot more animal products. But this is what I'm doing now, this is going to be the plan, and I will keep you guys updated on any changes that are made. And now it's time for me to go eat again. But this has been it for me, guys. Big shout out, as always, to the Patreon supporters and the channel members. Hit me up in the links down below to get in contact to get your own training and eating in better order, as well as saving some money on great products and services. And I will catch you guys next time.